Nora was kind enough to remind me that I hadn't said anything about the gifts of each pattern.
Oh, yay.
So, remember that we said that in order to pull off a certain strategy and make it work for you in the real world, you have to have the raw talents to do it. Then as you repeat it over and over again for decades, you develop those talents into skills. You become enormously skillful at the things you need to do to actually make that survival strategy work for you. It's a way of practicing. Many people hold that we go through a reincarnational cycle. We're born into a given life for a given purpose. We're trying to learn something specific through our experience. I say it that way because I can't prove it's true. I don't know for certain it's true. It's the most elegant explanation I've heard of why is there so much suffering in the world. The answer being because suffering is what we need to get our attention to the problem. Most of us will not pay attention to a problem and learn something until it hurts badly enough. There's a Chinese proverb I love which goes, a teacher is a problem you can't get away from. Because I don't know about you, but if I can get away from the problem, I'll just get away. If I can't get away, I will have to learn something. So most of us, first of all of us learn through experience, right? And typically we won't pay attention to it and start to learn until it hurts badly enough. One of my goals in this lifetime is to shift from learning through suffering to learning through joy and love. I want to skip the suffering part. I have done a fair amount of that already. So in using any of these patterns, a person is practicing. They are sharpening a certain set of skills. And that set of skills then becomes the gifts of that pattern. When a person is not in pattern, they still have those skills. For instance, a person who does merging pattern, oral pattern in the traditional language, who in that pattern really references other people and how they're feeling, but not self. Part of healing that pattern is learning to reference yourself. But that doesn't mean that you lose the skill of referencing other people. So when a person has spent years or decades in the merging pattern, and they're able to heal it enough, learn enough to not spend a lot of time there, but spend much more time in presence. When they're in presence, they still have the skills of the merging pattern. They're still amazingly capable at referencing the inside of other people and knowing what they feel, often knowing before the other person knows, which can be a little spooky if you're in a relationship with them. And sometimes is the beginning of fights. But the skill remains. People who do aggressive pattern, for instance, bring up a big amount of energy, instead of throwing it out, you can use it to hold a group. You can use it to lead a group. Most people who are successful CEOs do this. Now, some of them are real jerks. They're in pattern, in aggressive pattern. Others are able to really be beautiful, noble leaders, to actually speak to the company employees and inspire them and say, well, let's go do this. And everybody goes, yeah, let's do that. The charismatic energy comes from having that size energy. So noticing what patterns you do doesn't mean that you have been sentenced to some terrible thing. It also means that you've been developing a certain set of gifts that you can bring to the world. So I just wanted to put that out to make sure I didn't forget about that.
Can you just remember the other patterns?
The other one?
Oh, gifts for each pattern?
Yes.
Okay, so leaving pattern. Again, this is very much laid out in the book, and I was careful at the beginning of each big chapter on each of the patterns to list the gifts first, lest people fall into despair 50 pages in before they ever get to that part. So people who do leaving pattern have never closed the door between the spirit world and the physical world. They're able to move between the different worlds easily, much more easily than other people. That means they can go to other dimensions and get things and bring them here. That's very creative. That's like, think of Mozart just channeling music, right? Want a new symphony? Download it. Write it down as fast as you can. You may remember a scene from the film about Mozart, Amadeus, when Salieri, who hated him, is working with him at the very end. Mozart's sick in bed, he can barely move, and he's dictating to Salieri, another symphony. And Salieri is writing it down as fast as he can, because it's just coming through Mozart. If you look at most people who are seminal thinkers, original thinkers in most disciplines, they do the leading pattern. Nikola Tesla, who invented radio, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He was renowned for designing machines in his mind, running them in his mind, figuring out what was wrong and improving them in his mind before he even came to the physical plane. So a great deal of original stuff coming from people who do leaving pattern. A lot of sensitivity to psychic material. Probably many of the people in this group who are really psychically talented do leaving pattern. Because typically you have to have psychic talents to do that, and doing that sharpens your psychic talents. It's a two-way street. Merging pattern. Noticing other people. I imagine that the people in this group who run merging pattern have all been, without even thinking about it, have all been kind of noticing everybody around you and how are they doing. Are they okay? Are they happy? Are they getting it? Did they get enough to eat? Is the temperature okay for them? If you're in a group situation, a therapy group or a working group of some part, the people who run merging pattern are measuring everybody and seeing, is anybody in distress? Do they need attention? This is a great talent. We need somebody to do that because the rest of us aren't paying any attention to it. We need somebody to keep track of who's gone into distress and needs help. People who run enduring pattern, energy goes down into the ground, they get stuck, hard to move. That's the caught in the pattern part. The gift is they have tremendous capacity at grounding. They can ground a whole group. I'm going to be teaching a 2-day workshop on this. In fact, I need to hand out flyers for that. Let me just give these to you and ask you to pass them. When I'm teaching, I will have at least one, probably two people assisting me who run enduring patterns strongly, because I don't. And I need to keep the group grounded. I need somebody else to handle that skill while I'm busy running bigger energy and working with the whole group. I'm good at the upper part, I'm not as good at the grounding part. I'm okay now at grounding, but I'm never going to be as good as a person who's been doing the enduring pattern their whole life. Right? I've been doing it 10 years, 15 years. They've been doing it 50 years. Right? And they had a talent for that to start with. I didn't.
Can you explain what grounding means?
Okay. Grounding means a felt sense connection to the earth. We are physical beings, physical bodies, living in a physical plane on a physical earth. Ideally, our bodies feel an energetic and emotional connection to the earth. We feel supported, we feel nourished. We feel like we have a relationship, and we can, if we're in distress, we can say, help me, send me strength, send me courage, send me patience, send me, and it comes. If we're tired, we can say, send me more strength. If we're hungry, we can say, send me nourishment. The energy will come. It's a two-way thing. It is called by tribal people either Mother Earth or Grandmother Earth. You think of your favorite grandmother who always was ready with hot chocolate and cookies and a big hug. And you could not disappoint her. There's an unending flow of love for you. Personal support. How different would it be to walk the earth that way instead of walking the earth as an isolated person alone who has to fight it out yourself? Tribal people feel this. People who grew up sleeping on the earth. People who do not have water piped for 100 miles into their kitchen, but actually get it out of the river, have this in their bones, and they know it, and they look at us and they say, what is wrong with you people? How do you live? You're not even connected to the earth. If you read the American Indian teachings, it's there over and over again. So, enduring pattern, enormous capacity for grounding. Also, enormous capacity for seeing everybody's side of the situation and mediating. People who do diplomacy and mediators often run this pattern. If you're a diplomat, you have to be able to sit down with a bunch of other people who are all mean and nasty and yelling and not get blown away by the storm, but just be patient and solid and wait for them to get tired of yelling and not bring everything back to the point of the meeting. Aggressive pattern, ability to bring big energy up and do something with it in the world. So that's the gift. Like let's go, let's manifest something, let's make something happen. Often a charismatic energy pointed at, come on troops, let's do this, let's do that. All of these, of course, for better or worse. Jim Jones at Jonestown managed to collect a bunch of people to poison themselves to death. Not a great outcome, using the same thing. A person who is leading a group needs that energy. And in many ways, it's what makes people follow someone. Seeing, okay, that they've got a bigger energy, I'm willing to do that. Skill with big energy is one of the gifts of aggressive pattern, often ungrounded. One of the problems you'll run into in ceremonial stuff, shamanic stuff, energy workshops, is the leader often does aggressive pattern and doesn't have much grounding and just pumps up the energy to the max and burns out half the crowd because the person's not paying attention to other people can't go that far. So that's more dark side of it.
Do you have that in the book, the dark side of each?
Yeah.
Type?
Yeah.
The shadow.
Light and dark shadow. Yeah. I don't think I used light and dark side terminology, but it's basically in there, yeah.
Can you do the gifts of the rigid?
Yes. Gifts of the rigid. Order. Anyone you know? Order, organization, attention to form and structure. putting things in order, having a place for everything and everything in its place, getting things organized, and learning the form, the proper form, and doing the form. Think about the people, when we watch the Olympics, when you watch the ice skating in the Olympics, right? Those individual ice skaters, part of what they're graded on is they have to go around in figure eights, they have to do certain moves, and they have to do them the one right way. A person who does rigid pattern is willing to do that. The rest of us look at it and they say, come on, how many years do you want me to spend doing this? This is ridiculous. In the hope that I'll win a gold medal? Those of us who do rigid pattern will say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll spend my life on that. But order, organization, attention to form and structure, and seeing the form that is innate in things. There is an interior structure in things, an interior order. Most people can't see it. Someone who's gifted in the rigid pattern often can see the innate order.